Welcome to Real Estate Made Easy with Suzy Appel.
Hey, Suzy, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you, Michael?
I am just doing great. Thank you. It's so good to have you back. I understand you're on a little vacation or something for a couple weeks.
Oh, well, it's football season.
Oh.
So it's my favorite time of year.
Are you the quarterback?
I wish. Believe me, if I could have played. No, but I have nephews that play.
Oh.
University of Montana,
Oh.
Utah State,
Wow.
Park City High School. So I try and go see all their games as often as I can.
Well, congratulations on that. And did we come back as a winning family?
We did.
Yay.
Well, yes. Montana won by a landslide, but Utah State lost. They played Alabama, though. So,
oh. Well.
Number one in the country. So
Okay.
we felt good about that.
Well,
Max got to play
Good.
fourth quarter. We're excited.
Cool. Well, we'll let that little loss slide.
Okay.
We'll get it next time. Once again, we want to welcome you back to another exciting edition of Real Estate Made Easy with Suzy Appel. My name is Michael Mullenhauer, and it's great to be here again today. Today's topic, Suzy's going to be giving us some tips on why this is a great time to buy a home. But first, before we get into that, we want to say thank you to one of our new sponsors, and that's Jody Gardner of Main Street Insurance in St. George. Jody does group health insurance, doesn't she?
She does.
She does.
Jody's great.
Yeah, she's awesome. If you guys need a professional group health insurance expert, you can give Jody a call at 435-862-5718. That number, once again, 435-862-5718. So, Suzy, tell me, why is this such a great time to buy a house? I thought the sky was falling. It's the end of the world. Oh my gosh, we're never going to.
Please.
I keep hearing
Please
that.
turn it off,
Yeah,
right?
I think that's the best advice. Just turn all that stuff off.
It's a great time to be a home buyer. And it hasn't been the last few years.
I know.
Right?
Right. So enlighten us. Why is this a great time to buy a house?
Well, number one reason why is you're able to buy a home now as you used to buy a home, the way it used to be. Okay. The last 2 to 3 years, you did not want to be a home buyer.
Because.
Prices were through the roof.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Massive competition. Okay. There were so many things that you had to do as a home buyer in your offer to even get looked at from a seller.
Such as?
Well, things like you had to offer sellers closing costs. You, as the buyer, had to pay those typically.
Well, that kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Yes. You had to offer well above listed price, right?
Right.
You had to, I don't know, maybe offer your firstborn child, and that probably wasn't a good thing. I don't know. But here's the thing. We have seen a market in the last few years that was unprecedented. I mean, I've been doing this over 30 years. I have never seen a market like I did the last 2 years. Yeah. And now it's getting back. I don't want to say normal. I don't even know what normal is anymore.
There is no normal. There only is.
I mean, the new normal,
The new
right?
normal
I
is-
hate that.
Yeah.
But you have the ability as a buyer to make an offer, and most sellers will even negotiate off their price now.
Really? So the market is softening a little bit. It's less of a seller's market and more of a buyer's market.
I would say so, yes.
So when it's a buyer's market, that's a good time to actually buy.
It's the moment they've all been waiting for.
What a novel concept. Hey guys, it's a buyer's market. Go out and buy a house.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
So there's quite a few perks to the buyers and to if the seller prices his house properly, the house will sell immediately. In the past, prices were so high, right, that the sellers could get it. There was just massive competition. Now we have more inventory. Buyers have more choices. They don't have to jump on the first home they see. like they were having to do before.
Right.
So they can take some time and really decide, hey, which home is right for us, and look at the numbers and, get advice to make sure it's the right one for their family.
So what you're saying is they can get the home they want for less money. They can take a little time to shop around to make sure it's the right one for them and their family, as opposed to just jumping on something. Oh my God, we got to buy this thing right away because in 3 hours it's going to be gone.
Exactly.
So I think those are all really, really good things. What about interest rates? What's going on with them?
So interest rates are higher, as we all know. And so here's some other benefits to the buyer.
Okay.
Because rates are higher, people have kind of sort of decided to maybe sit back and wait and see what happens, right? They like to see how it all falls out.
Right.
We are now writing offers again that the seller would pay the buyer's closing costs. I just did this
Really?
a week and a half ago.
Be still, my heart. That's really great. That is like the old days, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And it benefits both the buyer and the seller because the seller still gets the listed price. Let's say we make an offer full price, but we build into that the buyer's closing costs. So now the buyer is able to come in with less money at closing, less cash, and the seller gets the price they wanted, less those closing costs.
Oh, that's great.
So,
What about all the other closing costs like home inspections, pest control, all that kind of stuff?
those are all standard, and the buyer pays for the. I mean, you could negotiate those in as well, but typically when I talk about buyer's closing costs, I'm talking about mortgage costs, right, for their loan.
Yeah.
Title, they have to purchase title insurance for their bank. Home inspection, there's a couple incidental fees that way, but we can add a certain number and request the seller to pay for that, and then that can include all those costs up to that dollar amount.
That's great. So what's the seller doing nowadays, like carpet allowances and things like that? If it's a used home and maybe they have dogs and cats and chickens running around in there and it needs new carpet and flooring, will the seller generally split that, or will they cover those types of costs?
Well, if I'm representing the seller, as we talked about last week,
Yeah.
I'm getting those items done before we list it, right?
Oh,
I'm
that's
having the
smart.
seller do those before it hits the market. And that goes back to our previous conversation. But we can request carpet allowances. We can request repairs. However, if there are too many on a repair addendum, the mortgage company isn't going to like that, right? They're going to say, hey, all these things need to be repaired before we close.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. So what are some other reasons why this is such a good time to buy?
Well, more inventory on the market, number one.
About how much inventory do we have? Like a month, 2 months of?
We are now, I believe, up to 3 months of inventory.
3 months.
We have, at the lowest point in the market, we had a total of 300 homes on the market,
Yes.
okay, in Washington County. Actually, that wasn't just Washington County. It was also Iron County and a few other homes outside of those counties. Now, the total amount of listed homes is over 1,500, but in Washington County, it's a little over 800 homes.
Wow.
So you can see, and that's
Yeah.
across the board in all price ranges.
So it's the old supply and demand thing. We've got more supply, less demand. Prices are going to come down. Sellers are more willing to negotiate on prices and other things like that.
And we're not seeing prices so much come down in certain price points. It's just that we're not seeing listing agents overinflate the prices.
Okay.
Okay, because that's what that was happening.
Yeah, I know that was happening. It might be listed for $500,000, and you'd have to bid on the thing, and you'd get it for $650
Yes.
because the seller's playing the game,
Right.
And that
And
part,
I guess you can't blame them. but
heck no.
Those days are not happening right now.
Oh well, so that's good for home buyers, this is why it's a good time to buy a home.
So it's in my opinion, it's a much healthier market now
Yeah.
than it was even 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, it was too lopsided when you've got one segment of the market that's completely in control and basically in demand, and you will pay me this much money, or you'll be living in your car or in a van down by the river.
We don't want that.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't want that at all.
Everyone in their own home.
Yeah. So what's the average price, home price right now? Average and average time on market.
Average time on market is somewhere in the 36 to 40 day range. So it's not long.
No,
I
it's not
mean,
bad.
you know, it used to be an hour. No.
Yeah, I had some friends that would stick a sign in the yard, put up their watch. It's been 10 minutes. This thing should have been sold.
So I don't think that's bad at all. And let's go back to interest rates, though, because someone told me the other day, I thought this is so perfect, spot on. Let me ask you this.
Sure.
What's the interest rate a renter pays every month?
Oh, hang on. I'll be right back. I have 10%.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
Think about that. Their entire rent payment
Yes.
is going to the homeowner, right?
You have just blown my mental paradigm.
So, there you have it.
Wow.
So now, if you purchase a home, when you purchase a home, and you look at this 5.5% interest rate, let's say today, that's what it is. It's hovering right around there. You're paying 5.5% interest rate instead of 100.
So I'm actually saving 96.5% on my house payment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You have, the tax write-off.
Yeah.
We love that. We get to write off all of that interest. You gain the appreciation, right? So the longer you rent, you may think, well, I'm going to rent because I'm going to wait for these prices to fall. Well, you really should look at the numbers, look at the price range of home you're looking at, and then decide how much money am I really saving over the course of 2 or 3 years or however long you think you should wait. So we have this little saying, it goes like this: marry the house, date the interest rate.
Ooh, say that again. That's a quotable quote right there.
Marry the house, date the interest rate.
So what does that mean? If I'm dating my interest rate, can I change it? I can refinance my interest rate?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we know that interest rates rise and fall, right? So at this point, my opinion would be buy the house you love because it's where you want to raise your family. It's where you want to retire. And then if today's interest rate is 5.5%, pay it and watch the interest rate. In the course of the next couple of years, refinance your home.
I think that's good advice. And I have to tell you, personally, from my own personal experience, to me, 5.5% seems like really cheap. Because I came up in the olden days when interest rates were like 18%. And a lot of the realtors that I was talking to, they were going, "Oh, Michael, if interest rates could only get down to 12.5%, wow, we could sure sell homes." Now they're 5.5%, and people are complaining. "Oh, they're not 2."
I know.
Come on.
Right?
Yeah, this is a great time.
So here's another thing we're doing is that in negotiation, why you need to work with a realtor that is a great negotiator. We can negotiate for the buyer, the seller to buy down the buyer's interest rate.
With a little thing perhaps called points.
Yes.
Oh, explain how that works.
So we ask for the seller, let's say we say to the seller, we want you to pay 1% buy down. We know what that's going to cost going in, right?
Right.
And we write that into the offer. Maybe we ask for 1.5. It just depends on, our offer. But the seller looks at that number. And again, it kind of goes back to buyer's closing costs, right? We can help the buyer get into the house at a lower interest rate that allows him now to qualify for a more expensive home or not. I mean, it just depends
Yeah.
on what they're looking at.
Yeah, that's cool.
And the seller pays those. The buyer purchases the home. And
Mhm.
in 2 years, if he wants it lower than that, then he can refinance. So there's lots of different ways that we can work this. We look at each buyer and we try to decide what is their situation. You know,
Yeah.
are they cash poor? Do we need help them with the closing costs, the interest rate? Are we trying to get them a higher priced home because they fell in love with it?
Mhm.
You know, you've got to work with a realtor. I love to get creative, and I have lenders that are very creative that help us determine the best way to structure our offer.
So, what about if somebody's cash poor? What are some solutions that you can provide to them?
Well, aside from what we've discussed,
Yeah. I like the buy down thing, but what if that's still not enough? So what are the lenders requiring now for a standard loan, not a VA loan or something? Just like, is it 5%, 10%, 20%?
well, it depends on the loan,
Okay.
right? So FHA would be a 3%.
Okay.
Okay, typically.
And what are the limits on FHA?
Oh, great question, Michael.
Thank you. We'll be right back. While Suzy chugs her notes
What
and
is the
answers that
correlate?
question. Let's just make a number up.
I'm not going to start quoting numbers because then I'm going to get someone saying, "Hey, that's not right.
Okay,
right?
so,
You're off $1,000."
So after the show, call Suzy's office. She'll look that up and
Yeah,
she'll give you
yeah.
that number.
It does vary. You know, they come up
Yeah.
with new guidelines, but so yeah, there are actual loans that are approved in Washington County in certain locations that are 100% loans.
Really?
Mhm.
100% loan.
Yes.
Are they no qualifier 100% loans? Or
No.
how do we call them?
No, they're actually designed for buyers who have certain. So it goes off a grid that you've have so many in your family, and you make so much income,
Okay.
right? So they're great programs. They are still available, I believe, in Ivins and Hurricane.
Wow.
So we can look at that as well. So I think I so often talk to renters who just believe they can't qualify. They're not, I can't
Yeah.
buy a home. I would recommend give me a call. Let's sit down. You'd be surprised that we can get you into your own home. And I think it's the best investment anyone can make.
Oh, I agree 100%. Other than it's better than paying 100% interest when
Yeah,
you're
Michael,
renting.
think about that.
Yeah, you can cut that down to 96.5%. I think that's right. So there are 100% loans available in certain
Yes.
areas
Mhm.
with certain income stipulations.
Mhm.
We're not going to talk about those because we're really not sure what they are.
And we're not lenders.
And we're not
And we don't-
lenders. But you have contacts with lenders that can facilitate that.
Yes, I do.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
This is
So
important.
are there any other qualifications that maybe a first-time buyer could get into? Or, I think this is a real world situation. A lot of people got hammered in 2008 with all of that stuff. They lost their homes. They got foreclosed on. They had to sell at ridiculous prices. They're starting to now recoup their financial position where they were. It's taken some time. There's solutions for those kind of folks too. Maybe it's not their first home, but they got hammered a few years ago. What's the best way to help those guys out to get them back in?
Well, again, it goes right back to we have to sit down with the lender because
Okay.
each person's experience is different, right?
Right.
Their finances are different. So it's not a one size fits all. We have to sit down with them, and they have to be open to explaining their situation. Lenders hold this information in confidentiality. They're not,
Yeah.
but you have to trust that they know what they're doing, right? They're going to sit down and say, "Hey, here's where I would recommend." They take a look at they look at your credit score, obviously. They look what's on there. They look at your job situation, and they can refer you to different programs. And some
cool.
of these guys are brokers, so they have private money. If maybe you need to go that direction for a short period of time, that would include a higher interest rate. But typically they can get you into an FHA has requires a lower credit score, right? So there are so many options out there. I would say get started.
So what
Get
about
started.
self-employed people?
Well-
What can we do to help those kind of guys out? Especially like with a lender, I know that the lending criteria sometimes is a little bit different, perhaps more stringent for self-employed people.
Not necessarily. Well, there's
Maybe?
more paperwork,
More-
more proof, right? And we all love providing that.
Yeah, I love filling out paperwork myself. It's kind of the joy of my life. In fact, I'm going to fill some out right now.
I just went through this recently, and believe me, I have empathy for all the people I work with now, and because it's stressful, it's frustrating, right? You just kind of go, ugh, but you got to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way around it. So you just provide the documentation, and it's actually harder in our head than it is when we actually get into it, right? We just kind of make it into this horrible thing.
Yeah.
But it's not. And then at the end of the day, you have a beautiful home to show for it,
Yeah.
right?
You know,
With all the benefits. So
Oh, yeah. My experience has shown me that sometimes it's easier to buy a home than it is to rent or even buy a car.
really,
Really. I mean, it's like when we bought our home a few years ago down in Southern California, I was surprised at how easy it was.
really.
Oh,
Good.
it was amazing. But when we went out to buy a car, oh my gosh, they wanted this, they wanted that. It was like, it was easy. In fact, my wife bought the house online on eBay or someplace like that. It was like, we never even saw it. We just showed up. It was like, oh, I guess we bought a house. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it's harder in people's minds than it is in real life to actually do this. And quite frankly, when they're working with a real estate professional like you, who's had like 30 years of experience, you know how to do all these things. You know the answers to the questions and how to guide them through the maze.
Well, and I think that's what's so important is I want people to know that I'm here to help you. So I can get you to the proper professional that can help you with the least amount of issues, right? And whatever that looks like, because it's different.
Yeah.
But I really do want to help you purchase either your first home, maybe you are downsizing, upsizing, whatever your situation is. This is what I do. This is what I love to do. And I think I'm great at it. So.
Well, I think you're great at it too. So before we go, how do people contact you? What's your phone number, your website address, all that kind of stuff?
So my website is SuzyAppel.com.
Spell that.
SuzyAppel.com.
And your phone number?
435-229-8378.
And the name of the company you work with?
Real Broker Red Rock.
Real Broker Red Rock. Shall we say thanks to Jody Gardner one more time before we go?
We should. We love
So Jody, we want to say thank you. Jody's with Main Street Insurance in St. George. She is Group Health Insurance, and her phone number is 435-862-5718. Jody, thank you very much for helping us out today, being one of Suzy's best supporters. Any last parting words before we depart?
You need to jump into the market. It's the best thing you'll ever do, or one of the best things you'll ever do. You won't regret it. Give me a call.
Great. Give Suzy a call. We'll see you again next time with another exciting edition of Real Estate Made Easy. Thanks, Suzy.
Thanks, Michael.
This has been Real Estate Made Easy with Suzy Appel from Real Broker Red Rock Real Estate. For more information, SuzyAppel.com. That's SuzyAppel.com. We invite you to join us again for another edition of Real Estate Made Easy with Suzy Appel. This has been a production of One to One Network.